Welcome to Mainland Television's Regional News. I'm Chrissy Small, and coming up in today's bulletin, Honi's back in town. A tourist takes a fall, locals take up the Quitline Challenge, traffic issues cause zero tolerance, and more. Nelson Bay's police released the name today of the man who died while cycling on State Highway 6 on Gentle Annie on Tuesday morning. He was Ronald George Martin, aged 77, of Atafai. No further details are available as to the cause of his death, and the matter has been referred to the coroner. A woman was airlifted by the Nelson Marlborough Rescue helicopter yesterday afternoon after being injured in a fall in the Red Hills area. Two tourists from Germany had set off after a lunch stop, and one tripped, falling approximately 2 metres onto rocks. The helicopter hovered, lowering the intensive care paramedic down to the scene. The woman was assessed and treated for lacerations to her face, arms and leg before being assisted into the helicopter. The pair were then flown to Nelson Hospital. Prior to this call-out, the Nelson Marlborough Rescue helicopter was called to Morgan Hut in the Nelson Lakes National Park for an American worker assisting New Zealand's dock. The man, aged in his 20s, was helping clear an area with a chainsaw when fragments blew into his eye. He was treated at the scene before being flown on to Nelson Hospital. It seems the tourists love him. Some Nelson residents are prepared to put up with him. However, council and some Central Business District businesses seem to have no qualms with spending exorbitant sums of ratepayers' money on persecuting a man whose crime is challenging our modern, conventional ways of living. Zap Honi back into the early 1900s, and he would no longer look like a vagrant, but would look like any other horse and cartman traveller parked up in the streets of Nelson. 2014 dealt him a 2-month prison sentence, equating to 1 month off for good behaviour, $50,000 wiped from a bill that council has gathered from thin air through private parking enforcement, $50,000 of ratepayers' rates money spent in this latest legal action on legal fees. Some might start to see this as a vendetta against a man who only wishes to live a life outside what is considered today's standard by many. Once again, Honi Mahiki, otherwise known as Lewis Stanton, is back in town and is fighting fit after his time behind bars. We caught up with Honi at his favourite haunt in the Central Business District to see how life behind bars has treated him and what New Year resolutions he may have made after his internment.
Happy New Year, Nelsonians. I'm back. Life still goes on.
Honi, you're pretty used to a nice and free and easy life. How was your internment? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
It wasn't too bad. It was pretty quiet and relaxed. I wasn't in a cell with a cell block with all the hardened crims. I was lucky enough to get a batch, as we call it, and have a bit of a wander around and talk with the others and all that sort of thing, instead of being locked up for 23 hours of the day. Yeah.
And did you find people the other prisoners were sympathetic towards what you're doing?
A few of them knew who I was and had seen articles on TV and all that sort of thing. So most of them are up to date with things, because nowadays we all have colour TVs in our cells.
As they do.
A bit different to a couple of years ago.
And that's right, it's been going on for a couple of years now. How long has it been this has been dragging on?
This lot's coming up to 4 years on the 4th of February. Yeah, it's time for a quality of life to be upped a little bit. My New Year's resolution, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be pushing that envelope. So it's time for a few more people to change their hearts and inspirations and thoughts of joy for the year.
And tell us, Honi, what would be an outcome that you could agree with?
Well, first of all, the council has to want to be able to agree, to accept that they stuffed up. Take ownership of their stuff up. Be 100% accountable for their stuff ups. Like I say, there's a lot of hard learning still to come yet. I said to Judge Zorab that I was not going to tolerate the Nelson City Council or anybody else violating my basic human rights. He could have actually stopped it right there and then, but he didn't. I guess that's the failure of our system with such things as due process.
As with most legal disputes, it is the lawyers who are the only real winners. So should we be asking, is the Legal Advice Councillors getting really good for the city when the whole exercise could be seen as expensive and pointless, as well as an ongoing clash of wills? New Zealand's best bars, breweries and restaurants have been named this week in the National Beer Awards. The best breweries, bars, bottle stores and beer events have been recognised in these last 2014 Society of Beer Advocates Awards, which were designed to recognise, reward and encourage those providing excellent products and services to the beer community and industry. These awards are voted on by the SOBA, Society of Beer Advocates membership. In the regional awards, the Nelson winner named was the Free House in Nelson's Collingwood Street. SOBA President David Wood said it was important to recognise the people and places that were advancing New Zealand's beer culture on a regional scale, and that every city and town develops at a different rate, and regional voting means the larger centres don't eclipse the beer heroes elsewhere. Quitline has reported a very busy start to 2015 with 1,685 New Zealanders signing up to use its quitting support services in the first 7 days of January. Nelson's DHB has reported that so far this first week of the year, 41 locals had registered with the Quitline service. Quitline attributes the high number of people quitting to the 10% increase in tobacco excise that came into effect on the 1st of January. A price increase always plays its part in prompting smokers to try and quit the addiction. Quitline Chief Executive Paula Snowden said that while the government sets the 10% excise increase, some people don't realise that the proportion of this is passed on to the consumer is actually determined by the tobacco industry. She said that so far they've seen bigger cost increases across most tobacco brands. One of the cheaper packs of 20, for example, has gone up by 21% this year. Other reasons that people are telling Quitline are that they want to quit for their families and their health. A lot of people have spoken of New Year's resolutions to get fit and healthy. Others have mentioned things like lower insurance premiums or just being sick of it. New Zealanders from all over the country have signed up to Quitline support this January. The Minister of Police is currently questioning the effectiveness and focus of this year's holiday period's zero tolerance by police on New Zealand roads. We went out to the streets of Nelson to see how tolerant we really are as drivers of slow and bad drivers in this region at this time of the year.
How do you feel about the zero tolerance for speed that the police were enforcing over the summer period?
Yes, yeah, I think they need to be a bit better educated on that. Yep.
Yeah. I reckon it's good, but can't say everyone pays attention to it, but yeah, it's good.
Not really happy with it. Like, I feel like everyone needs some leverage for mistake. They need a bit of, a gap.
Yeah, I agree with it. Yeah. As long as it sticks to them as well. They're the worst offenders in some cases.
Yeah. It would be interesting actually to work out how accurate most speedometers are.
Yeah.
They put little things up in the street sometimes to tell you how fast they're going, and my speedometer is always 5 k's over it.
Yeah.
Try not to speed myself, so zero tolerance seems a bit harsh, really. Especially when you're in a quiet area, perhaps at night time. I think there's a case for being zero tolerance. There's schools and children, and where it's busy, and there's a danger of hitting somebody who's a pedestrian and that sort of thing.
Well, we have to be allowed a little bit of wheelie because of the speedometers on cars aren't correct for a start. I don't disagree with the police trying to enforce speed restrictions. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well.
Maybe 4 k's is a bit silly, but 5 probably. But I think they'd be better off looking at people who don't drive on the white lines, don't stop at junctions, They blame tourists all the time, and in our experience it's not tourists. A lot of people don't drive to the road rules all over the country, let alone Nelson.
And in response to the high number of road fatalities so far for 2015 and the public concern over road policing over this holiday period, the Commissioner of Police, Mike Bush, has said that he has listened to the public feedback in relation to this latest summer road safety campaign and that police would learn from the experience. He said that retaining public trust and confidence in the New Zealand Police is critical and underpins the principles of policing. Future road policing campaigns will have clear messaging and public support for the important work to ensure the safety of New Zealanders on our roads. He acknowledges that there was some confusion resulting from the police speed messaging during the Safer Summer road policing campaign and that this became an issue that many New Zealanders were passionate about. He said that the purpose of the campaign was to save lives on our roads. However, some members of the public have told police that the messaging was not clear enough around what speed levels would be enforced. He acknowledged that they should have been clearer. He said also that they should have been more explicit and that speed cameras were set for a usual holiday tolerance of more than 4 kilometres over the limit and that roadside officers would continue to use their discretion in stopping people driving over the speed limit but would focus on unsafe driving behaviours. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.